Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to go through the First Wall. This is the latest book in the Siege of Terra series. So this video will have all the spoilers. If you haven't read the book yet, if you don't want to be spoiled, stop this video right now or it will be ruined for you. This is all down to one chap called Zarudio88 over on Reddit. Massive thank you, massive shout out to him. Without this write-up, then this video wouldn't be possible. So please, if you can, before you listen to what is next, click on the link in the description, go to his original thread post and like it and tell him he's absolutely awesome. So the novel begins with Perturabo in orbit over Terra in the Iron Blood. He's bemoaning the state of the siege. The demon primarchs are unable to penetrate the Emperor's psychic shield, which by this point encompasses the whole of the palace. Horus is busy physically assaulting the Emperor in the warp in order to reduce it, but it's still going strong. Angron is rampaging around uncontrollable. Fulgrim is sitting on a chair made of corpses, and the Emperor's children are already starting to ignore frontline duties and collect slaves for God knows what. Mortarion isn't even trying to get through and is instead lobbing poxes into the palace walls. Nobody really knows where Magnus is except Horus. Perturabo sees himself as the only sane and focused Primarch left on the traitor side. Perturabo decides that the key to the victory is the Lion's Gate Spaceport. He calls it both the weakest and strongest point in the palace. It's a key transport facility which would allow him to land Titans. Its strategic location is also vital as it's near the Lion's Gate, which separates the inner and the outer palace regions. However, it's also very heavily defended, and Perturabo comes up with a rather bizarre strategy to besiege it. He puts Kruger in command of the attack, believing his bluntness would confound Dawn, who expected more of a strategic and subtle stroke. This puts Foryx into a fuss as he thinks Kruger is undeserving of such an honour. The third Iron Warriors triarch, Barbie and Falk, is aloof and concerned mostly with the affairs of the warp. He insists on only being called the Warsmith. Inside the Imperial Palace, Dawn receives reports that the traitors might be massing towards the Lion's Gate Spaceport. However, he's also paranoid about Perturabo and thinks the facility is so well defended that it's a feint, as Perturabo wouldn't be that dumb. Perturabo knows Dawn would think this and is in fact relying on it, but is also paranoid that Dawn knows he knows this and is preparing a trap. This creates a bizarre he knows that I know that he knows that I know chain of suspicion for Dawn and Perturabo that perfectly captures their relationship. Eventually, Dawn decides to commit the defences of the spaceport and sends Fafnir and bolsters its garrison to 18,000 Imperial Fist and 800,000 Imperial army. The attack on the spaceport is quite large and pacific. Numbers are given: 25,000 Iron Warriors, Khan and 3,000 World Eaters, 1.5 million traitor army, huge numbers of beastmen, cultists and mutants, 2,000 ballistics, 1,500 manticores, 13 bombards, 500 medusas, 300 siege dreadnoughts, 84 Typhon assault guns, 67 death strikes, and 7,100 towed guns. The attack is launched with a general traitor offensive in both the north and the south by Fulgrim and Mortarion. Much to Foryx's frustration, Kruger forgoes a long World War I style bombardment and just unleashes a shorter volley. He then launches an all-out attack on the space walls to surprise the traitors. Rand leads a foray outside the walls and sets up a shield wall which blocks the flood of Lost and Damned. Imperial Fist armor moves around the flanks as the fodder presses against each other, creating a classic encirclement. In just 2 hours, 300,000 Lost and the Damned are annihilated, and Rand withdraws back into the wall. Khan attacks, is stalling as well, in the face of 3 capital Imperials and 3 Leviathans, but the tide begins to turn when Angron appears. Angron destroys a capital Imperialis and Leviathan, but tries to press on through the walls and is forced back by the Emperor's psychic shield. The Emperor's shield boosts morale and the zeal of the loyalist defenders, which do not break in the face of Angron's assault. The attack is a failure. Horus holds a war council on the vengeful spirit. Just as in the last books, he's literally swelling with the powers of chaos. Laik is always by his side and is now known as the left hand of Horus. Abaddon is frustrated with the state of Horus and wants him to lead an attack on Terra's surface. However, Horus refuses to leave the vengeful spirit, instead waiting for the anointed hour, according to Laik. Angron isn't at the council as he's too busy smashing stuff. During the council, Perturabo is angry that the other traitor Primarchs aren't really helping, while Fulgrim/Mortarion scoff at him for not embracing chaos. Perturabo states that the only reason his assault failed was because the Emperor's shield, which the Demon Primarchs should be able to help with combating, as the immaterial is in their realm. Horus regains his focus on here and now agrees, but Mortarion and Fulgrim aren't reliable enough for such an operation. Instead, he gives Laik and Abaddon to Perturabo, while Mortarion agrees to send Typhus. They land on Terra and commit a ritual to summon the essence of Nurgle's demon, Prince Korvax's Utterblight, inside the palace walls. While the demon can't physically manifest, they can send his influence in there. Laik and Typhus succeed in the ritual as Abaddon and Perturabo watch, and they state that Utterblight will infiltrate the hearts and minds of those in the palace. The story then shifts to the Sanctum Imperialis, which is filled with desperate war refugees. Kela and Cinnamon and the rest of her cultists are helping with them. They've been granted a short immunity by Malcador, who apparently has changed his mind on the whole Imperial cult for a time. He wants to experiment and see if, just as worship of the Chaos Gods empowers chaos, worship of the Emperor might too empower him, or at least draw away worship of the Chaos Gods to feed on. Demonic activity starts to pop up inside the inner palace. Little things like screaming faces appearing on things is enough for Dawn, Malcador and Valdor to send a Custodes Aemon to investigate. Next, we have Kruger's auxiliary plan, which is revealed. During the attack on the spaceport, Foryx and 1,000 Iron Warriors infiltrated into the spaceport under the fog of war. Foryx is ordered to seize the bridges connecting the spaceport facilities to the Lion's Gate. Elsewhere, the Dark Mechanicum Magos, Innar Centaurial and Obliterator Volk introduce a demonic computer virus that messes a lot of the security systems inside the spaceport. Foryx expects a rendezvous at the peak of the spaceport, but in truth, Kruger intends to just abandon him to die. Foryx and his men display true camaraderie and desperately fight behind enemy lines. The Iron Warrior infiltration is reported to Dawn, who draws away forces from the upper levels of the spaceport in order to deal with this new threat. He also sends reinforcements under Sigismund, who is still treated very coldly by Dawn. However, this is according to the traitor's plan, and they launch an airborne assault on the upper levels of the spaceport, led by Abaddon, Laik, Kruger, Khan and Beros. Fafnir Ran mounts a spirited defense and fights Kruger, but is badly wounded. Before Kruger can finish him, Sigismund and the reinforcements arrive. The Emperor's children launch an attack against the walls on their own, but stop after overrunning a number of bastions in the front of the wall. They simply drag away thousands of prisoners, which confuse the army's defenders. Next, we have Kela and Ammon, who meet up. He's extremely suspicious of her and her Lightbringers and want to do away with them. However, Valdor forbids any harm to come to her, seemingly accepting Malcador's plans. Warp anomalies are starting to appear more often wherever the Lightbringers appear, which Kela rejects responsibility for. Sigismund is there too, and Kela tries to talk to him despite Dawn raging. Kela stands up to Dawn and refuses to back down, and Dawn just sorts of storms away. Kela tells Sigismund that the Emperor intends for him to one day slay Abaddon, who will succeed Horus after chaos consumes him utterly. Sigismund accepts this as a sort of holy duty, but is careful not to share such things with Dawn after what happened in the past. The battle for the upper levels of the spaceport reaches its peak as Sigismund launches a counterattack. He is technically overseeing a withdrawal in order to allow his men to safely retreat, but spots Abaddon's banner in the distance. Sigismund is tempted to lead an attack on Abaddon's location and fulfill Kela's request, but ultimately decides to instead buy time for the retreat. Khan is among those fighting on the highest level and spots Sigismund. He roars into his position and the two come to blows. Khan is utterly consumed by the butcher's nails and corn, roaring and snarling and rarely forming coherent sentences. The power of corn swells him to a point where his muscles are busting out of his power armor. Though Sigismund is a better swordsman, he can't stand before the warp-infused might of Khan and is bested. However, before Khan can land the final blow, Rogel Dawn arrives. Khan charges the Primarch, but with a casual slap, Dawn sends Khan flying off into the air and rips into the traitor forces. The sky begins to blacken as the Ironblood itself docks with the highest levels of the spaceport, unloading swarms of new traitors. Perturabo had intended to use Forex and his men as a distraction while he arranged all of this. By this point, the spaceport is quickly falling to the traitors, but Dawn is decimating Khan and his World Eaters. Lyack tells Abaddon to let him meet whatever the fate the gods intend, but Abaddon refuses to do so and leads a charge into the Loyalist lines to rescue Khan. In order to save Abaddon from Dawn, Lyack intervenes. Dawn quickly kills his two blade slaves, but Lyack uses his sorcerer to perform quite well against Dawn. The stress of the power causes Lyack's armor to shatter and reveal his skeletal sickly form, which is now busting with various warp mutations. As he holds off Dawn, Lyack telepathically states to Abaddon that he does this so Abaddon can one day fulfill his destiny. Finally, Dawn gets a hit in and mortally wounds Lyack. Lyack then commits his last spell and explodes, creating a rather large creature where his body was now a warp portal where the first demons on Terra manifest. As the spaceport falls, Korvax Utterblight's influence reveals itself amongst the Lightbringers. As they chant, they all start to become possessed and attack Aemon and Kela. Eventually, Utterblight himself manifests in the palace and battles with Aemon. Kela has a sort of trippy psychic vision and comes to the realization that blind faith is foolish and the faith of others matters most. Together they defeat Utterblight. Malcador states in the aftermath that Kela is still on a type of parole, but Aemon should look after her and Cinnamon and their followers. Valdor gives Aemon the new name Longinus in honor of his new role. Abaddon and Khan are now safe and advancing with their own lines. Dawn is successfully overseeing the withdrawal from the spaceport. As he does so, Perturabo sets down from the Ironblood and two of them come face to face. Dawn wants to buy time for his men to escape and taunts Perturabo to face him, giving every type of petty insult you can think of. Perturabo doesn't take the bait and states that only when he has smashed the Emperor's palace and taken Terra will he murder Dawn. Dawn tells Perturabo to not get so confident. He has struggled this far to take the first wall, and many more wait. Dawn walks away and tells Perturabo that soon they'll have to fight over the second wall. Forex stumbles out of the inner spaceport, the last survivor of his unit. He's embittered and apathetic from the whole experience, meeting up with Sultan Volbron and dismaying at the state of things. He openly insults Perturabo and is broken from the fact that the Primarch used him as a sacrifice while he docked the Ironblood. The future with the Legion is chaos, which doesn't care about mere mortals, so ultimately this entire war is pointless. Volbron is pretty emotionless throughout the whole thing and simply asks what Forex will do next. Forex says it's better to win a war for nothing than lose, so he resumes his duties. Later on, Dawn is surprisingly upbeat with Khan, Malcador, Valdor and Sanguinius, despite losing the spaceport. He held it longer than expected and inflicted heavier losses on the enemy than intended. All that matters to Dawn is holding out until Guilliman arrives. Malcador is less optimistic, as he reports that he finally senses Magnus and he's set afoot upon Terra. Magnus's arrival, Utterblight and all the slaughter has reduced the Emperor's shield to just encompass the Sanctum Imperialis. So many demons start to manifest on Terra that from orbit you can see splotches of red, green, blue, purple colours from their mass. The last scene of the book is John Grammaticus arriving on Terra outside the ruins of a hive. He states he's on nobody's side and disappears as quickly as he arrived. And there we go. That is part 3 of the Siege of Terra series, The First Wall by Gav Thorpe. A massive, massive shout out again to Zarudio88 over on Reddit. Without him, this video wouldn't be possible. So massive thank you, mate. You did an absolutely amazing write-up in this. It really was very, very interesting to read everything that went down in this novel. Alright, Chaperunios, that is me done for another video. Thank you for coming, thank you for watching, thank you for listening. Tell me what you think. Did that excite you? Are you looking forward towards the next one? The first wall has fallen, but me as an Imperial Fist know that once you bring one wall down, there's always another much more stronger wall waiting for you. Thanks for coming, thanks for watching. Leave your thoughts, feedbacks down below, and we'll have a little discussion down there. See you now, and bye-bye.